So, shouts out to Ryan Coogler once again. This man is literally on the precipice of changing the game. Like he is kind of changing the game. So first and foremost, matter of fact, hold on, I gotta find this. I gotta find it because we need to call this out. We need to call this out. Um, because this weekend the movie uh, highly anticipated movie from Brian Coogler came out this weekend. Sinners. I think we watched the promo. I think we watched the promo. I can't remember if I watched it here with y'all or if I watched it like on like an Ambush Oscar stream. Um, but yeah, what the hell was this? Right? So Sinners has amassed $61 million in its global debut. It's a great result for an original R-rated horror film, yet Warner Brothers release has a 90 million price tag before global marketing expenses, so profitability remains a ways away. Like like even when we do good, we can't just do good. Like even when we do something, well and create original films, because that is actually something that people by and large have been asking for, right? And we'll get into that later. We want more original content. We want more original movies that are really good, that have good budgets to them, to get released. Like this is a global debut, 61 million global, which is there's another report somewhere that mentioned that it's one of the biggest debuts that's not attached to like a tempo franchise like a Marvel or Jurassic or DC stuff like that. So Ben Stiller, shout out to Ben Stiller. You see, he got the Knicks. He got the Knicks in that bio, right? Because it's Knicks season, baby. We're going to the championship. And what universe is a $60 million opening for original studio movie warrant this headline? And like I like to give the benefit of the doubt to some folks. Like I really, 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 really do. But simultaneously, this is such bullcrap from Variety. And like I see it all the time in things where the way they frame it, it's it's honestly a microaggression. That's exactly what this is. It's a microaggression. And it's very disappointing because Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are bona fide solid stars. And this is a Warner Brothers movie, right? We talked last week. I have a disdain for Warner Brothers for very specific reasons, but this is a big studio movie. This isn't self-finance. This isn't coming from them scrapping together money from like X and X, whatever, and trying to get, whatever dollars they can get out of this. This is, funded by Warner Brothers. And Ryan Coogler is one of the hottest directors out right now. Like he's had an amazing track record. Fruitvale Station, Creed. I think he did Creed 1 and Creed 2, both the Black Panthers movies. This one, like the man doesn't miss, bro. Like he does not miss. He is phenomenal at what he does, and he's able to make an impact and make emotion and also tell a story. I cried during Black Panther 2. I'm in a theater, full theater. It's part of an event that an organization I'm with was having. And so there was a bunch of people there, and it was a full theater. That man made a superhero movie into a personal journey for one of the characters, but also did it in a way where 100% was a love letter to Chadwick Boseman and a open grieve letter, or allowed both the cast and the crew to openly grieve while making this movie. Like you could feel the heart and the emotion through that film, which I honestly, it's so impactful to me. I can never watch it again. Like I love Black Panther too. I personally would not be able to watch that movie again because I could feel the love and the attention and the care and the grief that everybody had after trying to get over the death of Chadwick Boseman. So this isn't some mom and pop shop doing this. So for Variety to come out with this headline is incredibly nonsensical. And honestly, it is it's insane. It's actually insane. That they would write that headline, and like ancillary headlines is like a thing, right? Like it's excuse me, like journalism now is a little bit less about actual journalism and it's more about getting clicks. Um because well, the news is really hard to make money writing newspapers or writing articles and things of that nature. Um, However, it's still jacked up. Now, I need to go see this movie. It was already on my list to go see. I need to probably I'm gonna find somebody to go with because I'm tired of doing stuff by myself, so I can report back to y'all about what it was like. Also need to find time to go see this movie. That's the other part. People are like, when do you go see it? Monday is my day. So here's why it's hard for me to see stuff. Right. Um, Monday is my either rest day after my day job, or I come home and if I had things to do over the weekend, like shoots, that's when I'm getting started on edits. So I'm either completing moving files around or I'm tagging pictures or tagging video clips. I'm going through and sorting stuff because I like to get ahead of it, right? Because now that I'm streaming too, that's another thing on my list. So streaming isn't just this. There's other stuff that goes into streaming as you're trying to, especially if you're trying to build an audience, right? I don't have a team. I don't have 5 people helping me out. 10 people. I don't have a manager. I don't have editors, all those things. So everything that I do right now, I'm doing it by myself, which is kind of cool. It's one of the reasons why I got into it in the first place was to learn how to do some of these things and challenge myself to make myself the content, which is like, yeah, whatever. But secondly to that, that's what Mondays are for, right? Tuesdays, I try to stream, try to be consistent because that's very important is to have some consistent streaming days. So Tuesday is a streaming day. Wednesday I usually reserve because I have meetings 9 times out of 10, or at least two out of 4 of the weeks in a month. I will have a meeting on a Wednesday. So it means it's harder for me to stream. It's harder for me to do other things. I can't go outside because they're evening meetings. They're like 7:30, 8 o'clock meetings. Thursdays, I try to stream. Fridays, I try to stream if I don't also have a gig. Saturdays will probably be the best day for me to go see stuff if I don't have gigs, or I'm also a season ticket holder for a soccer team out here. So if I don't go to a game, then I can go to that. But also pretty difficult. Like this Saturday, I have a gig. I have to be in the Bronx for about 4 hours, I think, or so. Sundays, rest day. Probably also the better day for me to go see things. Maybe I go to a matinee, assuming again, you see all the things I do during the week. When am I cleaning my house? When am I doing my laundry? If I'm doing other shoots, like any editor will tell you that 9 times out of 10, if you can lock in, the moment you lock in and you get into your flow state, you can knock out edits. If you've been doing it for a while, you can knock them out. And then complexity will change that, of course. So I try to keep Sundays to be open for strictly editing or maybe going to see family, things of that nature. It is hard to find the time to go to the movies. It's hard to find time to do stuff like honestly just enjoy. So like I will literally come home, play my Xbox for like 45 to an hour or so, eat, and then start like editing or streaming just to decompress from the day and get some more energy. But okay, that's crazy. I don't like that. Um, However, and but those are first world problems to have. So I will find time to see this movie and a lot of others. Like there's some movies that have come out recently that I need to see. I need to see the Captain America one. I actually do want to see Thunderbolts. There's some I do want to see more art housey type of films. Like there was one that I missed last year that I actually haven't seen it promoted. It was the Peter Dinklage movie where the girl fell in love with him. I think it was Peter Dinklage and Anne Hathaway. Mm, I gotta find it because and it looked really, 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 really interesting. And I was really, really wanting to watch it, but I lost track of when it was. I gotta find a way to um where's this filmography, dude? Get into like seeing things more often. Maybe I've been thinking about doing a one of those like passes. Um I was gonna do it at it's called She Came to Me. That's the name of the movie, by the way. The Peter Dinklage one. This one. Um, and I was thinking of going to the Alamo because it's not too far from me. Um, However, when I was looking at doing it, there were people outside like we're on strike and we support labor. So I was like, I can't go to the Alamo. What are we gonna do? Um, so yes. So anyway, point being is that that initial that very initial thing from Variety was extremely I'm gonna say it was disrespectful. Like it was incredibly like it is literally like the first weekend, right? And I've never read the Polygon. So this is a good reminder that we're talking about movies box office all wrong. It isn't worth guessing about whether a movie is profitable. We just have the wrong data. Also, yes, actually, you know what? There's another film. There's another video we got to watch at some point, which goes into accounting for movies. Because by the very nature of how movies are made, they're not meant to be profitable for the purpose of like taxes and such, right? But also because most places don't want to pay out to the creators themselves. Um, so this one, weekend box office reporting, is a seminal part of entertainment media. In recent years alone, it has served as everything from a checkup on the general health of a movie theater to a litmus test for each new Marvel film. Yes, I don't know why. Like if you don't top the charts for some reason, even as a Marvel movie, you're seen as a failure or a flop. Really weird. But recently, box office reporting has gotten a little weird. All the earnings are being reported in terms of budgets and profitability. This used to be language reserved for obvious box office flops, movies that cost 100 million or more, barely putting up 10 million in the opening weekend. For example, I mean, honestly, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a cult classic. It's a cult favorite, but commercially was considered a flop. I think it had like I don't think it was 100 million, but like a 20 to $25 million budget. Only got like 10. It's in that time, and it's run in theaters. But this past weekend, specifically, respect to Ryan Coogler's fantastic vampire horror film Sinners, it became clear that we don't really know how to talk about the box office anymore. Let's get a few things out the way. First, the latest box office report was pretty great for movie lovers and movie studios. Yep, pretty much. Sinners is an unambiguous hit, putting in more than 48 domestically with a worldwide 63.5. It's the biggest opening for original movies so far this decade. We're in 2025, and it's the biggest opening for an original movie so far. And it's also the biggest in recent memory for an R-rated horror film. Meanwhile, a Minecraft movie and The King of Kings proved to have genuine staying power, earning 41 million and 17.3 million respectively. Even Amateur, Warfare, and Drop performed pretty well. So yeah, honestly, pretty much just reported to saying like we don't look at numbers the correct way. I don't want to go through this entire thing with you all. Um, but yeah, definitely check out the Polygons article to kind of read up on this exact topic. Literally written yesterday because it's annoying and disgusting. I don't like how journalism talks about these particular things sometimes because they're trying to paint a picture and a narrative and not be objective, right? Like it's because it's also not even being a critic. You're not even critically talking about what you like and don't like about the movie, what you think the purpose and motivation behind certain things, where you're literally just looking to get clicks and produce rage bait. And it works because now we're talking about Variety and people click on their article and people are looking at their tweet. So it's getting it. I guess it's a self-serving, very annoying cycle. And I absolutely loathe it. But let's go to the dailies. Again, the dailies is a newsletter. And they send these out every couple of days. I genuinely enjoy their reads because they are pretty good. So for instance, this one starts off again with Sinners. So 45.6 million domestic opening, $61 million global debut. They talk about Minecraft, King of Kings, like so basically how everyone has done in terms of movies, which is still pretty good considering we have all of these tariffs and all of these crazy things. Eggs cost super expensive, but people are still checking out these movies, like in theater too, which is crazy. Um, I wanted to see this part. This fascinates me so much. This fascinates me so much, and I'll explain why. Um, so one of the greatest and worst things about creating is financing your creations and getting people to watch your creations. There are so many people who have so many good ideas that honestly would probably outsell Marvel, right? If they ever get the opportunity to really get it pushed out and made. And part of that is the Hollywood machine and how it works. Because even if you get to the point where yes, I make my film, my script is in production, they're going to want to shortchange you and short staff you to make sure that the company, the Hollywood organization, makes the money. Maybe the actors, depending on the script in the film, they'll get their cut if they're a big name actor. If they're not a big name actor, they're going to try to then also, like, you know BS them too, right? So like if you're Robert Downey Jr., you're gonna get top billing. If you're Tom Cruise, you're gonna get top billing. If you're James Johnson Smith II, coming from obscurity, that you've done a lot of your theater work, maybe you've been on you like pretty good short films and YouTube sketches, you have a good body of work to show that you can act. But like, oh, he's a no name, so we don't need to pay him that much. We're doing a favor, like, you know what I mean. So they do stuff like that, and there are people in the industry that do try to fight against this. I'm not saying this is everybody, but that's largely how the industry itself operates. Um, but I read this and I was like, ooh, let me see what this is about. What's going on here? Sorry, I need some water. Talking is very hard. Hold on, y'all. Unrelated. It is so warm outside right now. It feels so like my window's open, and I just wish I was at somebody's backyard sipping some whiskey, waiting for some barbecue to be cooked. Can I cook my own barbecue? Yes, I can, but I don't like the fact that the smell gets stuck in my beard, so I try to avoid it. To be quite honest, um, let's see. Super shot, man, make it mine. All right, so this is one of the things that excited me. Excuse me. Ushering the end of the studio system wasn't on Warner Brothers executives' bingo card. They signed Ryan Coogler's Sinners contract. Yet that's exactly what some Panic executives are now saying could happen. Oh, forget to show. Um, that's exactly what some Panic executives are now saying could happen as a result of the deal. So, what exactly is the apocalyptic contract that has Hollywood sweating? Let's make sure y'all can see this. So, Ryan Coogler gets final cut on the $90 million supernatural thriller, meaning complete creative control and no studio notes. I am salivating. That's a salivation because Joe. And sometimes the notes aren't bad, right? But like, I don't. You could probably toss a stone and hit 10 directors or screenwriters where they're making a film and the studio comes back with a bunch of notes, and at the end the film is no longer what they set out to make, right? And it's so many little and big things. So the fact that he got complete creative control. I also wonder, how did they get this information, to be quite fair. I'm genuinely interested in how did they find out that this was in his contract. Like, did he leak it? Did somebody else leak it? Um, but that's insane. Now, question is, did they keep to that? Right? Because it says no studio notes, but a little, hey Ryan, nudge nudge. Do you think you could try this? Or how about this? Or I don't know if this is gonna fly, which is interesting. I wonder who else like has what other directors get to like to this level of complete creative control. If it's not their own studio, which is interesting. And then another one is first dollar gross. So Coogler earns from day one of release, not after studio recoups, a perk usually reserved for Spielberg level veterans. Which, I mean, to be fair, at this point, like, he's probably where Spielberg was, not early in his career, but again, he's shown he can make movies that are good, that are amazing to watch, that are deep, impactful, resonate with the common man. but then also have nuance and make money. Like he made Marvel a bunch of money. Granted, there is like, the black dollar attached to two of those, attached to a lot of those, to be honest, but still. So it's absolutely fantastic to see that. But also, so Hollywood accounting usually kind of works to limit what the back dollar amount is going to be. So he got first dollar gross. So meaning day one, that 40, where is it? There's 45.6 million. He's getting a cut of that off rip. 61 million, he's getting a cup of that off rip. I wonder if Michael B. Jordan has something like that in his contract too. Um, and then copyright reversion after 25 years. He gets to own the movie, so he gets the rights back in 25 years. Again, also relatively unheard of. This is not something like that's pretty common. So, how did Warner Brothers get here? In early 2023, the studio was still reeling from its pandemic decision to simultaneously release its entire 21 slate on HBO Max without consulting filmmakers, which is, yeah, that would do it. A move that drove away Christopher Nolan and damaged countless creative relationships. Facing box office uncertainty and streaming struggles, Pamela Abdi and Michael DeLuca desperately needed both a hit and industry goodwill. So when Ryan Coogler arrived with his $90 million project and a non-negotiable ownership conditions, WB won the bidding war by accepting terms no other studio would. So it's all right. So this is giving a few things here for me. Very, very fascinating things here too. One, I have major issues with Warner Brothers as a studio. Um, primarily primarily because of the fact that Warner Brothers does not make decisions from the standpoint of what makes good content, films, or movies. They strictly make like decisions from the standpoint of what makes money. That comes first and foremost in the head of the executives at Warner Brothers. Again, I'm 100% sure there are people closer to the ground level who really want to make good film and see good things, good stories get told. Um, but this doesn't surprise me. Like I didn't know. I remember reading about their decision to kind of move everything to HBO Max, but I did not know that they did it without consulting filmmakers, directors, producers. Like when I say producers, like low level producers, like a Clint Eastwood is a director, but he also has his own production company, right? And that has a lot of power in terms of when you're coming like at that level to an HBO, to a Sony, like what you can bring to the table. So then, of course, what you can also negotiate on behalf of yourself and your company. So if you're driving away somebody like Christopher Nolan, who we all know made one of the greatest Batman trilogies ever on the face of this planet, and you damage those kinds of relationships, that is a huge hit. Because one of the things in Hollywood that has stuck around despite like social media, despite all these other things, and it actually might have kind of more prevalence now that social media is a thing, is the effect of name brand recognition, right? Christopher Nolan is a name that 90% of anybody who watches movies recognizes. Like Christopher Nolan, Clint Eastwood, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Ryan Howard, those names, like if you watch movies, you're gonna know who those guys are currently. Martin Scorsese, right? Those are people you're gonna know. Ryan Coogler is getting up into that category now. I love Edgar Wright. I think he's one of the best filmmakers currently. However, he's not a name that most people would know. And he's made a lot of people's like favorite movies. If we tell them what movies he's made, they'd be like, "Oh, I saw that," but they wouldn't know that it was his movie until like you told them. So the fact that you're driving away people at the level of a Chris Nolan is sad. So basically, they painted themselves into a corner, right? So it's like we need to do something that's also going to like make us look good and favorable to um to these directors, to these writers, to these filmmakers. But also, Coogler had the balls. This was a non-negotiable ownership condition. It says right here. I'm gonna highlight it because I think I'm lying. A non-negotiable ownership condition. That is ballsy to be quite honest with you. Like I don't know how many people how many folks are coming to the table with that as a request, and then being able to like stick to it, right? Because I'm sure there are thousands of people who come to terms or come to the table with that as their starting point, right? And that is a starting point that they then get moved off of at some point. And then WB won the bidding war by accepting terms no other studio would. So there's probably a chance that other studios bid on it and then put in like either more money or different perks. But it seems like that was the one that helped them kind of win out. So how does this relate to an existential studio crisis? Okay, so there's multiple anonymous studio executives. I always love how they're anonymous. Have told Vulture that this deal is basically Armageddon for their business model. That is a bold term, Armageddon for their business model. They argue studios fundamentally exist to build and monetize content libraries that generate value through decades of licensing, windowing, and IP exploitation. This word exploitation. Yes, you will exploit the hell of this IP, brother. If top creators start demanding similar terms, studios lose their long-term revenue streams and potentially their acquisition value. I'm gonna before we go down. I don't know if so. Do we agree? Do we agree that by changing the ownership terms, right? Um, Studios lose their long-term revenue streams and potentially their acquisition value. So to clarify this part, right, this is also means like when you're selling your studio or parts of your studio, you're also selling the IP and the movies, the catalogs that go with it. So for instance, when Disney buys Marvel, they're buying all of the Marvel IP to use in their films. When Disney buys Fox, they're buying all of that IP. So they're buying The Simpsons, they're buying X-Men, they're buying Family Guy, they're buying all of that IP. And it's what also drives the value because The Simpsons is such a name brand show. It is such a name brand, an iconic thing that it adds to the values, right? So it's like, oh, if Fox doesn't have a Simpsons, then why am I paying so much? Because not many people are going to want to watch your content, right? So that's kind of where that comes from, which I do understand to an extent. But I'm curious if that also means you can garner greater short-term revenue because you're not tied or you don't need to hold on to stuff for so long, right? But then also simultaneously, you still have ownership for a set amount of time. So if you do need to sell, you still have those things, or you can also renegotiate at some point, right? So I'm thinking like if I'm Warner Brothers and let's say there's like maybe 4 or 5 projects here that have a similar term as Ryan Coogler's, if I'm like, I want to sell some stuff in the next 10 years, well, we know that we have 15, right? But we've done a few of these. So I might have one that's expiring in 15, one that's expiring in 25, one that's expiring in 50. Yeah, that's what I would see. So I don't know. I can see why they would not like be a total fan of that if they're looking strictly from IP exploitation, which I'm a fan of ending. And we'll talk about that later too. I'm 100% of ending IP exploitation for sure. So the reality check is this isn't Hollywood's first rodeo with ownership deals. Yeah, many it's just industry insiders have called the panic absurd and overblown, which I would also agree. Noting only elite directors with proven track records can command such terms. Quentin Tarantino, Mel Gibson, Richard Linklater have all secured similar deals in the past. Somehow the credits still roll on in Hollywood. Um, but for his part, Coogler cited the symbolism of a black director a black film, owning a film about black ownership, calling it his only motivation and a one-off arrangement he won't seek for future projects. Respect that. I get it. I get it. I get it. So looking ahead, with centers already bringing in 45.6 million on opening weekend, all eyes on whether this becomes a one-off exception or a new template for A-list filmmakers. Either way, studio lawyers are definitely ordering a bid rate absolutely not stamped for the next time somebody asks for rights reversion. I so that's why I was like, I don't know if this is gonna be a thing. Like it's gonna be necessarily a huge issue. Um, because right, it's usually only people at this portion of their career who are generally or genuinely going to attempt that, right? Like because people are watching Sinners not just because it's a good movie, but because it's Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, and they have a track record together of making great movies. It would not have mattered what studio this was made by. Sony, Marvel, Disney, Fox, technically all the same now, whatever. Pick a studio, A24. Pick a studio, and because it has Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan's name attached to it, people are gonna see it, right? Like, and this is no shade to any other actor in that movie, because there are so many great actors in that movie, 100%. Which is why one of the reasons I'm very excited to see it, because they did get really good actors for it. But those two names alone are going to bring you millions upon millions of dollars. So they can ask this particular thing. And I'm pretty sure Ryan went to I'm saying it like I know them personally, but Ryan Coogler, I would assume, went to Michael B. Jordan well in advance. And that might have been part of the pitch. It's like, hey man, we got these, like I got my boy with me. You've seen what you've seen what we've done with Fruitvale, what we've done with Creed, what we've done with Black Panther. Like, come on, guys, I'm gonna make you a lot of money. Just come on, what's up? So it looks like it's a good deal for everybody. I don't see this being like a big thing. I do hope that it opens the door to better ownership for creators over time, right? Like that is a big thing, because it also dictates whose story is actually being told, right? Because if I don't own the rights to the story, you can write me off, right? You can basically say, we own the story now. We don't like how you're doing this. You don't like how we're doing this. Just goodbye. And I'm sure there's like other things in there to keep that in check, but yeah. I don't care about that part. Some movies in development. Actually, Hayden Christensen is returning to Ahsoka season 2, which I need to watch. Darth Maul is getting his own animated series. I love Darth Maul. I do think I want to see more in different things. I want to see different Star Wars stuff other than like the same everything surrounding uh the 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 Star Wars 1 through 6. 7, 8, and 9 don't exist in my head, but other than that, I would love to see more things. And what is it? Wait, Jordan Peele is coming out with another. This is gonna be scary. Why can't he do some funny stuff again? Why is it always horror? Like, and he's good at it. Don't get it wrong. I just don't like thrillers and horrors. I'm a little punk. I am 100% a little punk. This one does look interesting though. Oh, this is so loud. One second.
It really is. For you, dear, I'd do anything.
Benedict Cumberbatch, by the way.
I believe that's true.
It really is.
Theo Rose,
Wait, Searchlight Pictures. Wait. Did I miss this? So what is Searchlight? Because now that Fox doesn't exist anymore, is Searchlight Pictures the thing now? I'm gonna look this up while we watch this, but let's continue watching.
Theo Rose, my favorite architect. How's married life?
The kids are amazing.
We're going to the beach!
Right, don't drown. Ivy, it's a monster success.
Would you do a photo shoot for New York Magazine?
Nude?
I don't think so.
Hey, I love him. I always forget his name, but he's so good. He's amazing.
I'll do it anyway.
But you are still a failure.
You got fired.
Fired? I sense trouble.
How was your day?
The neighbour's dog shat in the laundry. The kids have got knit together. My left eye's twitching.
More champagne for me, please.
If you need a shoulder or an inner thigh to lean on.
What?
I'm kidding.
So many random. Sorry, I was not expecting this many people to be in this.
Or
Left eye's twitching.
More champagne for me, please.
if you need a shoulder or an inner thigh to lean on.
What?
I'm kidding.
Andy Samberg has gray hair now. How old is he? Also love Kate McKinnon.
Everybody seems to think
We hate each other? I suppose sometimes I do hate you. Ah, sporadic hatred.
That's honesty.
Tarragon, it adds a bit of bitterness.
Ivy likes to leave a little bit of herself in everything she does.
I love this fun banter you guys do.
Sometimes Ivy's mad at me and I can't even tell.
Sometimes he's got his cock in me and I can't even tell.
We are done.
Okay.
We're done.
I just want the house. I built it.
Oh, you're not having the house.
We want everything. And he walks out of here with his face still attached. Right, Bruno?
Wow.
You're a bottomless pit of need. You're just making me madder.
There's a gun in orange. I'm loving this. I want to see this.
I get this wart.
Ah, God, that was disgusting. That was gross. Why are there guns?
Things are getting a little out of hand.
Oh, you think?
I don't think
I wonder
you
what
have the
inspired
capacity to
this.
Fix your problems.
Are you actually allowed to say that?
That seems
Yes.
unprofessional.
Yes, like malpractice.
Ah, we'll be expecting a hefty discount.
I like this. Oh, sorry. I genuinely find this to be refreshing, and primarily because it just reminds me of movies that came out when I was younger. Kind of more slice of life dark comedies, where like there's a serious subject matter, but like it's also not serious. I think a good example is the uh shoot, what's the name of the movie? It is the Ryan Reynolds and oh my God, what is the name of the young lady? The Proposal. Right, movies like that where like The Proposal is a little bit more rom-commy with the emphasis on the com side. This one seems more dark, drama comedy, which is good. I think it's a little bit different than like what's been out here lately, and so I'm definitely here for it. And to answer my own question earlier, Searchlight Pictures is basically like the distribution that Fox used to be. Like, it was Fox Searchlight Pictures, which was a sub company, and then I guess when they bought it, they decided to make it its own thing, which is interesting. So like that's why I was like very confused about the Fox style logo at the beginning. I haven't seen that again, which is probably why I need to go back to seeing movies. Um, so it's very, very interesting that that's what's happening. Okay, I gotta read more into that. Uh, and also more horror. I'm not reading horror. I'm sorry. Sorry. Me after using AMC A list to see Sinners in 70 millimeters at the City Walk IMAX. I'm sort of single-handedly keeping film alive, which is, yeah, honestly. And I'll actually want to look into that next. So that's the other kind of big thing with the Sinners movie is the fact that it was filmed in IMAX. Um, and so Ryan Coogler, yo, what's good, Stitch? What's happening, brother? What are you here for? Oh, it shows you that. That's crazy. Um, but yeah, so definitely like it's fascinating. Your mom? My mom or your mom? I think you bottled that one, bruh. I think you jacked up. I think you meant your mama. Um, but yeah, so like the other thing about the movie is it was gonna go, all right. So now I'm slow. I'm a little slow today. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's been a long day. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. It's been a long day. I've been yapping for roughly an hour now. Who's your? I'm all right. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm not even gonna get into it. But yeah. So the other thing about this movie that like Sinners movie that folks are very very ecstatic about is the IMAX of it all and different aspect ratios. Oh, I never watched the regular show. I actually hated it. I found it to be weird. I was never a fan. I was actually never a fan of any of those Cartoon Network shows from that era. I never watched the regular show. I never watched the Cheddar Bob one. The what's the other one? Is the regular show the one with the friends? The Rick, not the tall raccoon dude and the short little rabbit guy. That's the regular show. And like the gumball headed dude. Yeah, wasn't a fan of that. Or Adventure Time. I never liked Adventure Time. Or Steven Universe. I think I was just also too old at that point, and I didn't smoke, so I was like, I'll pass. But yeah, so the aspect ratio piece of it was also the other thing that like folks are really, really excited about. Because again, if you like film, if you love film, they really Adventure Time was okay first season. After that, it got real weird. Yeah, I don't think Adventure Time was a children's show. That was the other part about it. It was on Cartoon Network. It was not a children's show. And so if you like film, like aspect ratios, if you make film, it's kind of the thought process of why do you shoot, how you shoot, and what do you shoot with. So we're going to check that out in a second, but I do need to use the restroom. Gumball, by the way, Stitch. I'm a huge fan of Gumball. I also know that it is not a children's show, but it is goddamn funny and makes references that are really, really good references. Absolutely historical references. Very. Listen to some more K-pop. Oof. Oy. All right, I'm back. Good. Nobody was talking shit. Appreciate that. So I wanted to check out his thought process on like why did he choose the different aspect ratios, because you can see it in different ways. So if we actually go back like to see it again, you can possibly see it in IMAX versus Panavision versus regular. And I think that's a really, really cool nuanced feature for the film. So this one, oops, sorry, that one.
B&H birthday story.
Respect to
We've
B&H,
been known
but
for our customer service since 1973.
okay.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Ryan Coogler. In anticipation of the release of our newest film, Sinners, I just wanted to walk you guys through a little.
Sorry. All right. Sorry. The other thing, before we even get into this, we literally just talked about how my man was able to get a deal that gives him all of the revisions of reverts the rights of the movie back to him in 25 years. Right. And we talk about like who gets that stuff. The fact that this brother walks in the room and talks like this, in the all due respect, ain't changed his dialect, he ain't code switching, like this is yes, I love
What's
it.
going
I'm here
on? I'm
for
Ryan
it.
Coogler. In anticipation of the release of our newest film, Sinners, I just wanted to walk you guys
love
through
it.
a little bit of information on how he made the film, as it might provide some context for what tickets
Also,
you
is
guys
this too
choose to
loud?
buy
This
once
feels
they go on
very
sale.
loud. It's
I'm
not
really
for me.
excited to announce that Sinners was captured on film. It's a format that I fell in love with when I was in film
Wait,
school.
this was
So I
shot
brought a
on
few
film?
strips along here.
I'm sorry, this wasn't shot digitally?
This is Super 8 film.
That's
This
crazy.
was used for like home videos and has a real beautiful aesthetic. Those little holes on the sides, those are called perforations or perfs, abbreviated.
Hey, some Oakland.
This is a piece of Super 16 film right here. This is the type of film that's very close to my heart. This is what we shot Fruitvale Station on. And
So I actually didn't know he was a film connoisseur, to be honest. Like he is more of a modern day filmmaker, and like I think probably Fruitvale Station was 2013, so film was on its way out. So the fact that he's a connoisseur for the film is crazy. But also to know like those basically like old 8 mil, like 8 mil is kind of the style that people are trying to go back to with those little like camcorders that people are doing. So that's kind of a style that's coming back, even though it's like a fake 8 mil times.
And it's crazy because this is the same material, just a little bit wider. And when a capture film gets wider, same as digital photography, what happens is you get a little bit more resolution and you get a shallower depth of field, meaning less of the image is in focus at any particular time. This right here is 35 millimeter film. This was the format for the majority of the industry history. A lot.
And so this also format is what's used, or it's called for standard photography. So most things you hear about, if you hear a photographer talk about like the lens size or the sensor size, we say 35 mil, and this is why.
A masterpiece is shot on this format. A lot of films that are close to my heart, and it's making a big comeback. Like this past film year, Nora was shot on film. Nice. Like The Brutalist was shot on film. Now you got some filmmakers that always use the format. So Sinners, we shot on the big boy format.
The big boy format, I love that.
This is what we call large format in motion picture photography. This is 65 millimeter.
Is that medium format and photography
right here, but just wider. So obviously, even more resolution, even shallower depth of field. And these perforations have a particular meaning because we shot the film using 2 different camera systems. One proprietary to Panavision, it's called Ultra Panavision 70, used on films like Ben-Hur and most recently The Hateful Eight. But another format
so Clint Eastwood
is IMAX film cameras. Those cameras spin the film in a horizontal fashion.
Okay.
And they spin it using 15 perfs per frame. I'll show you guys what that looks like.
I love this. This is a cool breakdown.
Shot from the opening of our film Sinners. This is the same shot captured on IMAX film format, which is 15 perforations per frame, spun through horizontally. And this is that same image as it would look if it was captured on Ultra Panavision. 5 perforations per frame, with the film being sent through and exposed vertically.
So same.
We shoot a scene, unless it's with the intention of being slow motion, we're shooting at 24 frames per second. So whether it's through a camera or through a projector, each one of these frames are moving through 24 frames per second.
That's crazy, and it still looks so good. I love the fact that we can now digitize this kind of thing also. So yes, it was shot on film, but it was more easily convertible than like it used to be.
So about these frames, all right? Each time it's exposed on one of our formats, the Ultra Panavision 70 millimeter format, okay? It's exposed with these 5 perforations, and it's exposed at an aspect ratio, which is basically the size of the rectangle that you're watching a movie on. It's exposed at a 2.76 to 1 aspect ratio. This is one of the widest formats you'll see a film projected on. Very rare to see a film projected in this format. The other format that we shot on was the IMAX film 15 perf format.
So they shot in multiple resolutions, which is interesting.
So the film was shot with 2 different aspect ratios, and this is the first time ever that a film has been released combining these 2. So it was a pretty complicated process to shoot. We had a lot of fun, but when it comes down to the release, there's a lot of options for you guys. We'll talk about that.
Okay. So that's the question that I have is, was it done so that way as you're going back and forth through certain, like, because there are movies and shows where depending on the scene, the format may get wider, like typically like the IMAX style, even though it's not IMAX, or anamorphic style where it's squeezed, so you have like your tops drop in. You have those black bars in the top and bottom, or sometimes like if it's a vintage quote unquote style that they're trying to go for a particular scene, they do it the other way, which is more like 8 mil or 16, where they kind of squeeze it in on the side. So like top to bottom is all the way stretched to where it needs to be, but the sides are like kind of blocked, like a little bit like this, right? So I'm curious.
So when you guys go to buy your tickets, depending on where you live, it's gonna be a lot of options available to you. All right. There's one aspect.
I'm saying it's an IMAX, baby.
That Ultra Panavision
full IMAX
ratio. That's gonna be the most widely available format to see the film the whole time in that ratio without the.
I love this. I love this.
If you live close to an IMAX theater and you choose to buy an IMAX ticket, you might have a 190 IMAX available to you. Which
I like how they're doing.
How they're the aspect also ratio will expand. And if you're especially lucky, you might live close to an IMAX 1:3:1 ratio theater, where you'll get the full impact of every image how we intended to see it. So
that's crazy
a little bit
good.
About how films are shown. So
that's
today,
crazy good, actually.
2025, the vast majority of theaters are using DCPs. It's a digital cinema package. It's a digital format of projection to maintain quality control. And it's basically a really, really expensive hard drive that has a file for the image and a file for the sound. We did an incredible sound mix. My composer Ludwig Göransson did a fantastic score on the movie. It plays like.
So I'm pausing here also because I got to give credit. Like, this is a plus and minus for how Hollywood works. And there's a reason for it too. You'll tend to see people rely on the same folks or use the same teams over and over again, but that's because creatively, when you find somebody that you're in sync with, that you can work with, it makes the job easier. You guys start to build your own language, understand each other a lot more. So like you see that a lot with Martin Scorsese and like Al Pacino or folks like that. You'll see it with Judd Apatow and his crew, Paul Rudd, the guy from How I Met Your Mother played Marshall Erickson, like those kinds of folks, they do it. Clint Eastwood has his usual suspects that he usually goes to when he wants to shoot films, both in terms of actors, but then also importantly, people off the screen as well. So he brought up the composer. There's a video that I'm not going to watch today, maybe a different day after I actually watch the movie. That same composer worked on Black Panther with him. So like, again, you find people that you enjoy working with and you bring them in. But then also simultaneously, let's say the guy that you want to work with or the young lady you want to work with is busy, you will usually go for whomever they might recommend. Like you're not gonna try, or most folks don't go and try to find like unknown folks. They're going to try to like get the recommendation, because trust is such a huge part of the creative process. Like I have to be able to trust that one, you'll show up, and then trust that you'll do a good job.
Like a concert. So definitely seek out the best audio format that you can find too. We got them all from 5.1 to 7.1 to Atmos, Dolby Atmos, and all the IMAX formats as well. And this, the reason I fell in love with theaters was because, I came up, my parents was working class
Oakland, brother,
Oakland,
theater.
and it was the most affordable way for us to go out and have a good time and have an experience. I still believe in that communal experience of, going to the movies. This version right here, we worked especially hard on to make sure it tells a story, to make sure all of the story is there for you guys. If you want to splurge a little bit more, we got these specialty formats available for you. And we worked with Warner Brothers and our team to get a lot of formats out there. It's a bunch of different ways you can watch this movie. I'm gonna highlight a couple of them here. The movie's gonna be available in 4DX. Okay, that's a particular format where the seats move around. You might get splashed with water. That movie's a horror movie, so you might get splashed with a different type of liquid. Maybe
a what? Nah, brother.
Not real, of course. But 4DX, it's gonna be
I don't like
cool
that.
for
I'm gonna close dry.
That'll again be available in that 276 format, the Ultra Panavision 276 format. We got ICE or immersive cinema experience.
I need to change that name now.
Sections of the film you'll have.
Y'all gotta change that name for. Y'all can't use that name no more. Like, brother, I can't walk around New York City. Hey, yo, I'm finna go see this movie in ICE, bro. Like nobody, no.
Eyes of you in these kind of 5 side panels. Okay, really exciting way, really immersive way to watch a movie. Definitely would recommend that. Screen X is another one that we're available on. So
I've never seen a movie with Screen X.
These massive screens on the side of you that for certain portions of the film, the film really opens up and surrounds you. Another awesome format.
Maybe I need to. I've never seen one. I've actually never tried it.
Dolby Cinema. So the same folks that make Dolby Atmos, they also are doing a Dolby Vision screen, which is HDR format, which is high dynamic range. Also format, whenever you think about high dynamic range, just think about whiter whites, brighter whites, and darker, deeper blacks.
Yep.
Our film,
I love HDR.
It's also a horror movie, so those blacks could be really cool. And Dolby Cinema, and it was all captured on film.
So you get the widest range.
It's just incredible dynamic range.
You get wide range.
And we come to the specialty.
I really didn't know they filmed this on film. That's crazy.
Done in partnership with IMAX, and it's an awesome way to see the film. Definitely one of the intended ways to see the film for us when we were.
Do I need to shoot maybe I need to shoot a film on film. Maybe I need to shoot a project on like actual film and learn how to do that. I've been doing digital like my entire, time so far because honestly it's easier. It's a lot simpler, to be quite fair. Like filming on film, if you jack up the take, if you jack up the film, you jack up the film. I think you could probably re-record over film nowadays. I think there's like ways to do that, but still, it is more labor intensive and cumbersome to shoot on film. You got to make sure everything's actually right.
Setting up every shot. If you live close to an IMAX digital screen, you'll have 2 aspect ratios available to you. You'll have obviously the 276 Ultra Panavision format for select sections of the film, sections of emotional intensity, musical intensity or horror intensity. We chose to film those sequences
Okay,
with a
see,
bigger aspect
all right,
ratio.
all right.
And the film
So
will pop
they
out
did
and
do that.
expand for those moments. Be a really, really immersive way to watch the movie.
So that was the question that I asked. That's a good shot right there, honestly. But that was the question that I asked before. Was this one of those situations where they change the aspect ratio depending on the scene?
Select few will
that
also get
answers
the
that question.
experience shit 1:4:3:1 digital projection. This is everything. This is the full McGilla of what we shot. Beautiful way to watch the movie. You're getting a whole lot more of the image. But this immersive capacity that this format has, like way to watch the movie, you're getting a whole
Like, look how much
digital
difference you
projection.
get.
This is everything. This is the full McGilla of what we shot. Beautiful way to watch the movie. You're
Like-
getting a whole lot more of the image. But this immersive
But like, sorry, I gotta show this. I gotta
McGilla of
look
what
at
we
this one more
shot.
time.
Beautiful way to watch.
Because like this looks like what people think quote unquote cinematic looks like, right? So this looks like something that if you were to go to like Reddit or whatever, like, hey, how to make my film look cinematic, they might use this particular screenshot.
Watch the movie. You're getting a
But
whole
in this particular aspect ratio
lot
here,
more.
where it's like full screen in this particular way, and also it's the way it's shot, and I don't know which film index they use. This looks like if you were to look at like film from the 20s and 30s, like the square box ratio, this is more or less what it looks like. Now, granted, also I'm watching this on YouTube and not in IMAX, so the ratios might not be exactly what they're supposed to be, but still pretty interesting.
Of the image, but this immersive capacity that this format has, I just can't speak highly enough. Chris Nolan, a filmmaker I look up to, has really mastered that format in terms of the cinematic experience. And, you know, we were after trying to give audiences a similar vibe with this one. So definitely recommend that. In the audio that's available to you guys with IMAX Digital, you have 5.0, you have 12.0. Obviously 12 is more speakers, bigger sound, but 5.0 is fantastic as well. So my
He
favorite way to
dresses like
watch
he's
the
from
movie.
Oakland too, bro. I
Now,
love it.
Trying to get emotional talking about this, but this brings us to something very special that we doing, very rare. This is the IMAX Film 15 Perf projection. We were fortunate enough to work with our post-production partners and get some film prints out there to the world, which is just an incredible way.
I
experience
actually
the
might need to
movie.
go
It's
get that.
The way that I came up experiencing movies combined with this really innovative technology that IMAX has developed. And this is a IMAX Film 15 Perf projection, okay? Now, we talked about those
I think the music's a little
perforations.
loud though.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I love how we started close together and then had to get wider to just make it all fit.
Now, 15 perf image being spun through
This music is kind of loud though.
the projector horizontally. Only 10 locations worldwide are gonna have this. We're gonna have it at Lincoln Square.
Of course, you got it in
13
New York. Let's get it.
City Walk Stadium 19 Los Angeles. Irvine Spectrum Los Angeles.
They should have put one in
Metreon
Oakland.
16 San Francisco.
Ah,
That's
okay,
my
Bay Area.
hometown.
Yeah.
Indiana State Museum, Indianapolis. Arizona Mills in Phoenix. Auto Nation in Fort Lauderdale. Webb Chapel in Dallas. Colossus in Toronto.
Okay.
And BFI in London, where we have our UK premiere. Really, really excited about this, man. If you guys can afford it, if y'all care, definitely check it out in this format.
I love the fact he's like,
means
if
a
you can
lot.
afford, like I respect the fact that he acknowledges that times are tough if you can't afford it.
Last but not least, the rarest format that you can find the film in. This is gonna be 70mm film, 5 perf projection. So we talked
Damn.
about those perforations. The entire film will be in 2.76:1.
Okay,
this
now I
is
might need to go see that
very
one.
rarefied
70
air
was
to
crazy.
get a film out in this format.
Damn, the
It's an
Alamo?
incredible experience to watch a film like this. to
Are
have a
they
projector running behind
are they
you.
still on
To know
on
it's
strike?
incredible,
If they're on strike, I can't
technicians
see it.
that have specialized hands and knowledge that are making this happen. We worked with Warner Brothers, worked with Photochem to get this out to 5 theaters that are
Bro, I
legal
hope
in the U.S.
I hope that they're not
Vista
on
Theater
strike
in Los
still.
Angeles, the Alamo, Brooklyn, New York, the Village East Cinemas, New York, the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland, which is where I watched some of my first movies.
Okay,
with my
all right. So they
parents.
did that in Oakland. I
Around
was
the
like, you
world.
got to do something in your
And the
hometown.
Britannia Theater in New Orleans, where we shot the
All
film.
right.
The film was set in Mississippi, but we shot it in New Orleans, and
That
we
makes
actually
sense.
used this theater to screen some of our dailies. So it means
That's
a
pretty
lot for
cool,
us
actually.
us to be coming back with the movie.
That's actually pretty
Again,
cool.
We made centers for the theatrical experience. We wanted want you guys to have all these different options, and I hope this was helpful. Thank you.
All right. So hold on, guys. Pause. I want to see how much it would cost to see the 70mm in Brooklyn. Damn, it's sold out. All right. So this is for 70 millimeter at the Alamo in Brooklyn. Yes, I know. We just watched my boy Ryan Coogler talk about it. Let's just pick a seat location, a recliner, whatever. You know, I'm alone, just by my damn self. So I guess that's just good what I take. Damn, these times are done up. They took all the good seats. That's crazy. Whatever. All right, how much is this gonna be? Oh, that's not bad. I thought this was gonna be like $40. 25 is not bad. Okay, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. But before we do that, I also need to check is are Alamo draft house workers still on? It is crazy. That was the second one to pop up. Alamo draft house workers in New York City ended their 58-day strike with the management of the Diners Cinema chain. Employees at the Lower Manhattan and downtown locations announced their union has successfully struck a deal, and this was about a week ago. All right, good. We can go to the Alamo, ladies and gentlemen. We can go to the Alamo. All right, so I will definitely have to go to Alamo Draft House to see the 70 millimeter film. Because come on, brothers, like we're film nerds here. I mean, we don't just watch a movie.